Reed Richards, you've come to the palace of Kulkul Khan. Bow at my— Namor, you need to stop DMing my wife. Well, maybe the maiden would prefer royalty. No she doesn't. In fact, she has told you many times. We're about to file a restraining order. Your silly laws mean nothing to Kulkul Khan. Okay, where did you pick up this accent? Cause you were a white guy with weird ears when I met you, and now you're a dripped out Mayan dude? Can I not evolve, change, grow? Okay, can you evolve into someone who respects consent? Alright, man. She's not gonna fuck you, bro. Namor, we have children together! Namor needs to learn the word consent, especially when the Ultimate Universe has him reacting to rejection like this. Okay, jokes aside, I really like Namor. Ever since I saw his character design, I thought he looked way cooler than Aquaman. Then we get possibly one of my favorite MCU redesigns in Wakanda Forever, which mind you, is way better than the first one. But then we have Marvel Rivals, and the first events where the Fantastic Four were introduced. I was excited to see T'Challa and Reed's mutual friendship and respect, the Human Torch and Spidey's legendary bromance. I was even hyped about the Thing and Hulk. However, even though I hate it, I knew we would see a reference to the weird energy around Namor and Sue Storm. In Rivals, they thankfully make Sue a faithful wife, because in some of these comics, they do not do that. However, they still make Namor this thirsty fucking goober when the guy's an actual king. I get it though, it's kinda funny, but why did this happen? What transpired in the comics for all this buzz around Namor and Sue? Is there a precedent set? Does Sue love Namor? Is Namor the Riz Master or a Discord mod? Let's go over some comics and I'll tell you my take on this bullshit. For some reason, writers have this fascination of embarrassing Reed Richards because he's a nerdy guy. Maybe they have a hard time imagining a woman like Sue choosing a man like Reed. I don't know why when it happens all the time. More importantly, this is Reed. How much do you need Richards, baby? You know he's doing his job in there. Even with all of this, there have been a few times where writers mischaracterize Sue as this flirty and disrespectful partner to Reed, and they always use Namor to create this nonsensical drama. Let me go through two examples here. A short one that's not too bad in Fantastic Four 1998, and then there is the Ultimate Universe. Strap in. This is Fantastic Four 1998 issue 6, written by one of the most impactful writers ever, Chris Claremont. I might have to do a video on him one of these days because while he did so many great things, I do have some issues. But in the first few pages of this comic, we have some insane Sue Storm upscale. She's sparring with Danny Rand, the Iron Fist. We see them go back and forth and the whole friend group is here. We got She-Hulk, Luke Cage, and of course Danny's better half, Misty Knight. This dude Danny is trying to spar with her and he gets embarrassed. Sue reacts to him trying to grab her invisible staff, then kicks him to the wall, and this guy crashes out. Let's read this together. Danny reacts without thought, channeling all the power of his chi, his indomitable will, into his right fist. So Danny is putting everything into this hit. Let's see what happens. Danny freaks out after hitting her, thinking he's killed her. Everyone rushes to her aid, and Sue just starts laughing in this dude's face. Oh my god, embarrassing. After putting belt to ass with Iron Fist, Sue takes a swim to relax. After diving in, something or someone grabs her ankle, and before she can freak out, she realizes who it is. It's Namor. Oh my god, I'm gonna be sick. Look at her eyes, man. She is feeling this dude. Not only would the real Sue Storm smack the shit out of Namor for trying that shit, but I could never see her look at another man like this. She greets him as they come out of the water. Namor flies them up with his bird feet and she says, "Why is it whenever you take me in your arms, I feel like I'm walking on air?" Oh fuck this. I think Chris Claremont has a real problem with throuples, man, because this is just like the needless pairing of Wolverine and Jean Grey, which I've grown to tolerate. For some reason, Claremont thinks that every woman wants two husbands. They keep on flirting, and after what feels like an eternity, Sue finally wakes up from that trance, realizing, oh shit, I'm married with a kid. Then Namor does his classic move, Dirty Mackin', basically saying, yeah, I know your man doesn't treat you right. And unfortunately, Sue is exhibiting some real bird behavior and she agrees with him. I'm sorry, but look at what happened in the previous issue. Reed gets an unwanted kiss and immediately tells her to cut that shit out, even though she's probably his type. Then Namor and Sue come to an understanding in which she cannot stop touching this man. Namor lets her know that he just wants her to be happy. Right. Then the next bit is so heartbreaking. Namor and Sue were talking mad shit about Reed, right? How he doesn't do enough, right? Look at this man on the next page. Flowers, baseball tickets, extravagant dates. I am so pissed, man. In what world would Sue Storm ever entertain a goober who just needs a queen to run shit for him, which we'll get into later, but this one had me heated. Next one we have is Ultimate Fantastic Four, issue 25. This one is about what you'd expect from the Ultimate Universe. I mean, look at the cover, man. You know how they used to get down back in that era. However, I do want to say this is a very different Sue and Reed. They're pretty young here, and their dynamic is a lot more one-sided at this point. So we open on Namor fighting Johnny. After they neutralize him, he's captured and contained in this flimsy thing, because as soon as they start talking about his home, he lore dumps on them. And when he refuses to divulge secrets, and Reed says, I hardly think you're in position to negotiate, chum. And Namor just flexes his muscles, breaking this dollar store piece of equipment. Johnny and Ben get ready, but Namor says if you wanted them dead, they would be dead. And Sue's mom, who's alive in this universe, realizes how Namor is slobbering all over her teenage daughter. And because she's such a great mom, she uses her kid as a honeypot to get info. Then Reed has this hilarious reaction. Sue? Dude, this guy is so fucking funny, man. Susan explains and says she can take care of herself. Reed is like, that is not what I was worried about. You're going on a date with a man who looks like prime Taylor Lautner. And Sue pretends like she didn't notice that. So Sue and Namor just stroll around NYC, talking about their cultures, Namor's culture shock, and of course, romance. Just like before, Namor starts dirty macking again, making fun of Sue for dating Reed. He teleports her away from the robots for some privacy, I guess. And as he gives her a back rub, she's like, I'm supposed to be getting your secrets here. Namor is like, fuck all that, and Sue says, get your hands off of me. Namor, this version not understanding consent, says, don't be ridiculous. Then Sue forces him off her and flings him into a truck. He pops out of that truck full of that incel energy. He says, idiots, do you realize who you have rejected? Then he does this. I am Namor, as he backhands her with a closed fist. Just nasty work, Namor. I understand this is the Ultimate Universe, but I really hate how people still think of this as the true Namor. This guy is a misogynistic, woman-beating incel. They end the issue with Namor choking her out like he's Chris Brown. Thankfully, next issue, the team pulls up and Mary Storm, Mom of the Year, finally realizes how fucked up it is she sent her teenage daughter to be a honeypot for a guy who almost killed her son. Just stupid. Now, in both of these issues, Sue is unfaithful. However, in the Ultimate Universe, she's pretty young, so I can forgive her, of course, especially since she established boundaries much faster than the other Sue did. What I really don't like is that Sue doesn't come clean on their date about what happened between her and Namor. That is emotional cheating low-key. It's wrong. Now, if you want to see a Sue Storm that is done right, let's look at one of my favorite comics, Hickman's Fantastic Four. So in Hickman's Fantastic Four, issue 584, we see Sue Storm take a trip to broker some peace with the fish people down under. We can already see the contrast, as when Sue begins to leave, Reed shows concern, asking her if she needs backup. She says she's got it, and that she will be back in his arms in no time. That's what I like to see, man. So Sue finally arrives to see Scott and Emma, as they say Namor has been waiting for some time. He does his classic Namor thing, all chivalry and no respect. Dude says, for you, Susan, I would wait forever. Watch out, man. The good thing is he doesn't talk shit about Reed here. Then we get a scene where Namor plays the Benevolence King, listening to Sue's demands, even though his subject here does not fuck with that. They then stare at the ocean, really Sue staring at him. However, I don't think she's feeling anything other than curiosity about what's really going on. We do find out what's going on pretty soon though, as when the meeting finally takes place, Namor says, fuck that, Imperious Rex, which for me is like top 5 catchphrases. I love that shit. And he kills one of the Fish Kings. Sue then puts 2 and 2 together, realizing he set this up as an ambush, and she locks in, creating a force field to protect everyone. We fast forward a day and see that Sue is still holding this force field, no problem. She then commands this Malphite looking dude to bring Namor, and we get this scene. Sue is clearly frustrated, and Namor is not taking this seriously, just saying, you look lovely. He then starts this tale of how things are not how they seem. It is a lot, but basically, Namor heard old stories of these guys, they feign innocence, make some peace meeting, they take info of their enemy, and then killing the emissary. We then get into the next issue, where Sue is dripped out and confronts the other fish guys. They deny everything and call out Namor for using millennia-old stories against them, as they have changed. They also let her know that because the old king died, she is now the ruler, the emissary, Sue Storm. Namor did not see that coming, and he loses his cool, saying, what is this? Sue Storm just waltzes right into the role nonchalantly, telling Namor her commands as now she is queen. Namor, an egotistical man-child with a short temper, gets even angrier when Sue puts her foot down and just walks away from him. Namor fucks up and says, "Woman, you do not turn away from." BLAM! Sue just smacks the shit out of him. Namor, please keep your hands to yourself. Sue then says again, "Honor the deal." Namor is shocked and says, "You dare?" Sue says, "You're damn right I do." Man, I love her so much. This is the boss shit that I love. Sue Storm can go to any society and run shit. Mole Society, Atlantis, whatever. Namor's freaky ass gets turned on by that, smiling at her and saying, "God, you are magnificent." Sue rolls her eyes and says, "Yeah, I'm going home." This is what I love, man. I like it when Sue is curious about Namor as an ally, a friend, a leader, but nothing more, not romantically. Namor has done shit in other comics, but I think these three stories represent the spectrum of Namor and Sue encounters. While I've been talking about why I hate how this paints Sue, I want to talk about how this flattens Namor completely. Namor is a character who over time has been incredibly flanderized. This of course happens with any asshole type of character like Guy Gardner or even Jason Todd. However, back in the day it used to be that Namor was pensive, yet flamboyant, egotistical and maniacal, yet an honorable king. Most importantly, Namor was always a womanizing kind of guy, but he was also somewhat compassionate. Now I know the Ultimate Universe is not something to go off of, but I could never see Namor actually trying to kill a teenager for rejecting him. Unfortunately, that issue gets talked about a lot online to disrespect him. They talk about my boy as if he's been thirsting over the same woman for decades, when he has had a whole ass wife, man. You take one L and they never let you forget it. In conclusion, I do not like this cheap drama that is shoved into comics. Namor can be forward, yes, but he shouldn't be a sex pest. And Sue Storm can be a curious person, but never a cheater. I want to do a video defending Namor and how cool he is, so if you want to see that, let me know. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Shout out to all the Watchtower employees you see here. Huge shout out to all the OG7 members. We got my Day 1 Cable. We got Zuzu Pazuzu, Aquamarine, Adenine, my boy Dennis, and of course Magnolia Soldier. We got Transgender Actions and Henry Bartram. Then we got Cloud, Shiloh, and Rabbit Vegas. Then we got Joey or Let Him Hear Joe. And of course, last but not least, my boy Shane Stapler. Thank you so much guys. Peace.